We always talk about, do I have the resources? Do I have the money to do something? I wish I had more money, then I know that I would be able to make more money because I have more money. Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you that you probably have all the resources that you will need to be able to get yourself to the next level. And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to tell you a story about what happened to me. And it was like advice that someone gave me. And it took me a little bit to understand exactly what he was saying to me. But once I understood it, it was like, you're right, I have the resources. The thing is that he didn't tell me to spend my money. He told me something to do, and the way I took it was to spend my money. I know that sounds, it might be a little circular, but you're going to want to watch this video because I'm going to show you that some of the times we have it right here in front of us and we don't see it because we're always looking somewhere else at the stuff that we don't have. I had the resource right with me. So now, first, before we get started, I know that you want to have some sort of concrete solutions to be able to move forward. You're probably tired of looking at videos that don't give you real solid, concrete, factual proof ways that you can move forward with your business from where you're at right now. And I believe that happens from people who have not really been in business or just making videos. I've been in business going on 35 years. Started with a $500 investment and made that into many millions of dollars in 4 different companies. I've had other companies that sold those off, but I manage 4 companies right now. And I know that you want to improve your lifestyle. You want to protect your money. You want to protect your assets. You want to improve your lifestyle. But you want to be able to know that what you're doing is really going to work. You're tired of wasting your money on stuff. So I'm going to show you that you actually have it already, potentially, or pieces of it. And I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. And I did it in a way that you're probably going to do it the way that I'm about to explain it to you, because at that time when I got that information, I was in my 20s and I wasn't really, I paid attention, but I didn't pay fully attention. And also, I wasn't fully aware of the advice that he was a former client of mine that he was actually giving me, and it was very good advice. And if I could have took it the wrong way when he gave it to me. So first, let me give you a little bit of the background. This is the publication. I used to print this publication until December of 2023. We printed this publication from 1990 all the way to 2023. It was a free advertising publication in the Milwaukee metro community area. And it's a free publication, and we would get advertisers to advertise in the publication. Some of the weeks we would have over 150 pages, 160 pages of advertisers in the publication. But when I first got started, me and my wife, we first got this started and we were kind of getting some momentum. I ran into this client. His name is Jack. He used to have a liquor store and I think grocery store, liquor store. And we had competition out there. It was called a Red Book. We're the Blue Book, they're the Red Book. And we didn't call ourselves the Blue Book. The community was like, it's blue, it's the Blue Book. That's what people started calling us. We had a whole different name, but we were like, hey, why go against what they want to call us? Because they're the one that's picking it up. They're the ones that's going out there reading it and following up with the advertisers. So we were like, the new name is the Blue Book. And the other competition was the Red Book. They had started years before us. So now I remember with this conversation with Jack, he had told me, because I was like, Jack, why don't you always run with us? He would like run every once in a while with us. And he was like, let me tell you something, Steve. The reason why I don't run with you all the time is because your circulation isn't as high as the Red Book. And I was like, well, but we still can get you results. And he was like, in his mind, remember, when you're dealing with clients, they have their own reasons. And this is where I'm glad I paid attention to what he was saying, even though I could have took it the wrong way, because I could have just been defensive and been like, you should just advertise with me because the amount of books that we have, we can bring you clients and not worry about the way that it was being perceived in the market. So he was like, I'm just telling you, if you had higher circulation, somewhere close to what they were doing, or you matched it, I would be running ads with you every week. And so when I left, I was like, thank you, because you don't want to ruin the relationship. He was still running his ad once a month with us. So I was just like, okay, got my pen and paper out, and I was like, okay, if I'm going to get to that circulation, it's going to cost me this amount of money. And I was like, man, that's going to be a lot of money, with the business. Like, it's going to cost a lot of money to match that circulation. But when I look back at it, I was looking at it the wrong way, because if I would have just said, hey, the easy way, this would have been the easy way. Just jump to that circulation and take less money for your pocket. I was thinking, just like I just said here, when we don't want to have to lose any money. We want to protect the money that we got. So when we're looking at investing, when we're looking at expanding our businesses, we kind of want to protect what we already have. Not to say that you won't do it, but that's the mode that I was in. So what I decided to do was, rather than jump all the way up to that, I was like, okay, I'm going to just gradually do it. So what I did is I said, okay, we're going to move the first week. I said, instead of paying me and my wife that $500, we're going to put an extra $500 towards circulation. So that was $500. And just from that $500 investment, we started to see where more people were responding, because we had more publications out there for people to pick up. And it was something that I didn't really pay attention to, that I should have paid attention to, is some of the stores that we would put the publications at, they would be out of publication. We put them out on Thursday. They were like done by Saturday. So that was already a signal that we needed to up the circulation. But because I didn't want to jump out there, I was, young, watching the money, also wanting to keep more money in my pocket, because I grew up and I didn't have a lot of money. So when you start to have a lot of money, you want to use your money for other stuff, which I learned a lesson on that. So the next thing is, I said, okay, we're getting some success. And this was how we just started taking this money out of our pocket to do this, the first 500. And we did that for a few weeks. We saw success. And then we were like, let's just take less money. And then the next, I think it was probably like 2 or 3 weeks later, we were like, let's just put $1,000. So now, just so you know, we were already paying $2,500 a week. So you're talking about bumping that up to $3,000, and now you're at $4,000. And then we went ahead and said, hey, this is even better success. Now we at 25. Now we're at $4,000. And then once we got to $4,500, we had matched the circulation of that other publication, and we were off and running. We were like off and running. And from just making this, really making a $500, $1,000, and $1,500 investment, my revenue for that business had grown from $24,000 all the way up to $100,000. So this is the lesson that I want you to learn from this story. The lesson that I want you to learn from this story is that we had the resource with us. When I spoke with that advertiser, and he made me aware of what needed to be done for him. Now, this wasn't even for other people, but when a business person tells you this is the way that they look at your business, you better bet that the other businesses are looking at you that same way. Because we found that out, that some people did not even advertise with us solely because we didn't match the circulation. And this is, please listen to this, because this is real deal stuff. See, before anyone can buy your product, your service, could do anything, get any result or anything, they have to buy you first. And depending on what your product or service is, they're going to pick something about it that they can logically and emotionally latch on to. And with the publication business, with advertising, the number one thing is going to be circulation. Because, and the reason why they're so locked in on circulation is because they're like, okay, if I can get it out there to a number of people, I'm happy. And maybe they won't get the result that they want. Maybe they will get the result that they want. But they're like, they don't feel like they wasted their money because they know, they feel it. Number one, they feel it. They see it, because people would say, I see your books all around town more now. I see stacks. Like we would have in grocery stores, first we started with, you've seen those little racks where they, like those little small racks, and they would have a top and bottom. We ended up having these full racks that had 2 big fronts and 3 bottoms. Like we would literally, in some of these grocery stores, put upwards of 500 to 1,000 books in there. We would have to go back and restock on Saturday because it seemed like everybody that walked through those grocery stores or those laundromats and those places, they were picking up the books. So what the impression that got out there was that it's everywhere. And because they're going to buy that first before they get a result, that they have to buy in on this. And this is what the market wanted to see. And so now with your product or service, what you need to do is you need to do a deep dive. Maybe you can ask someone, maybe you already know because you've been a client that like, it just passed over me. Sometimes when you're in your business, you don't even pay attention to what's in front of you, because this is what I would pay attention to when I did marketing for my other types of businesses, when I was doing them in different places, like when I did TV commercials. I was like, well, how many people are going to see the ad? And I wasn't even translating that into thinking that other business people might be interested in that when they're going to advertise in my publication. So what you need to do is you need to pay attention to, ask people, do research, whatever you got to do. What are they specifically paying attention to when they're looking at your product or service? And then you need to make a determination on how can you get there. You might have to go and borrow money, but I don't even think you're going to have to do that. What you could do is you could just take less money from your business and reinvest. Because basically that's what we did. We started with that 500, reinvesting with that 1,000, and with that 1,500. Basically, all what we did is we was like the extra, either the money that we're making and the extra money from new advertisers, that's going to printing. That's what we did. But the thing about it is that for that small investment, it bumped us up to we were anywhere between $65,000 a month to $100,000 a month in revenue for just being willing to do that. And with that company, I had 6 delivery drivers delivering books. I was able to take myself totally out of the business other than just managing the business. So you could have the resources right there in front of you. You just got to kind of adjust that focus so you can see the picture for what it is. Look at your resources for what you got. Don't keep looking out there for stuff that you don't have, because that can help you make excuses. And so, and also before I close out, is that when I left that, from talking to Jack, when I left that meeting with him, I had said to myself, when I get into the position, this is what I said when I walked out. But then later, when I started evaluating the actual resources that I had available and what I could do to put money into circulation, it was even easier than I thought when I was walking out. When I was walking out, the number one thing that I was thinking to myself was, when we get to making more money, I'm going to make sure that I do what he said to do. But I'm glad I didn't wait. I just was more aggressive, and I said, we're going to put more money into it now. We're going to take less money. me and my wife, we're going to take less money, more books on the street, gets the advertisers more response. And we just kept doing it until we got to a level. And the thing about it is that this was the highest level that we needed to be at. Some weeks we would print extras, like when we had our football edition, we would have our the football schedules for all of the teams, or we would have some other special like a real estate edition or something like that. Those might go into $5,000 or $5,500 for that week. So you can see we were spending a lot of money on printing. You can add that up. So what I want you to do as your homework, you need to post some comments in there. Don't be where you're just like, I appreciate the nice comments. I really do appreciate them. But if you're going to be somewhere, get somewhere in your life, one of the things that even when I was afraid to say something, like if I was at a workshop or, speaking, someone was speaking and then I would just walk up to them, is that you got to ask those questions, and you got to, part of becoming successful is to be willing to accept embarrassment. And I understand you might ask a question and you'd be like, man, I don't know if I should ask that way. People are going to think that I'm, stupid or whatever. You can't be that way because, people thought that I was stupid. They thought me and my wife were stupid. When we first started this publication, when we first started this with $500 in 1990, some family members and definitely some of our friends thought that we were stupid. They were like, why don't you go and you go get you a real job, a real career? When that business got to making a lot of money and they saw our lifestyle changes, they saw the freedom that we had, they saw that we were in charge of our lives. And also, during that period of time from the 1990s and then went into the 2000s, there was a recession. And some of those same friends and family members lost their jobs or got downsized during that time. And we just kept moving straight up through all of the recessions, right through. So don't worry about what other people think. You need to get the answers for yourself. And you have answers. The reason why people ask answers a certain way, the reason why people ask questions a certain way is because your internal process for yourself understands it a certain way. I remember in front of my wife, there was some question that came up with her doctor, and I had to, my wife had a double lung transplant, and the doctor asked a question and my wife was going to answer it. And then I answered the question, and I answered it in a way that both of them thought that I was crazy. And when I look back at that, it's not that, you might think you're crazy. They think you're crazy. But the way that I was understanding the question was a little bit different. And they both know I'm not there to try to harm, cause harm to my wife. I'm just trying to get the answers because and that was the way that I would have understood the answer. So don't let people make you feel a certain way because you're asking a question a certain way. More importantly, get the question answered in the way that your body internalizes answers, and then you move forward with those answers. Thank you for your time. Please post your questions, post your comments, subscribe to the channel. This is Stephen A. Williams with Making Money with Stephen A. Williams.